This represents a major shift not only for Team Canada but for the Montreal Canadiens, as we just watched Canada decimate Finland. Though it got close at the end, we got to talk about what this means for Team Canada, but also Patrik Laine and a little bit of Joel Armia, as Laine had a very, very good tournament. We got to break all of that down, but we also got to get into some other Habs prospects over in Europe, including Vinzenz Rohrer, who has been on a tear as of late. Yes, a name you don't hear very often, scoring that one-timer and the shootout goal, but also our boy Oliver Kapanen with another 2-goal night, now officially in the top 10 in the entire SHL in points per game, including this amazing breakaway finish. We got a lot to break down, all coming up on this live episode of Habs Digest. We also got some Jacob Fowler stuff. Welcome in. Thank you all for being here on a wonderful Monday. Jesse, how you feeling? You ready to get into a lot of good stuff today? We got some prospects. We got some Four Nations, and I think a lot of us are hyped about the Four Nations, so we'd love to see some comments in the chat about that.
For sure. Really excited about that. Lots of exciting stuff happening in the hockey world. For sure, we are excited for that gold medal game, even though we know Samuel Montembeault might not be starting, in net again, just very exciting there. But then again, we're just happy to be here, Josh, right? Because, it's so much fun doing the vids, but what's nice about the live is we get to break it down. We get to chat a little bit, have your coffee, have that special drink, and basically fans, we just want to encourage you guys today, our dear viewers, you guys have questions, bring it forward. Let's break it down because we just love your opinions, what you guys have to say. So excited to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going on right now in the world of the Habs. I mean, we're seeing people in chat already talking about moves that we hope the Habs make, and welcome in everyone in the chat already. We got Best Channel Ever, we got Hockey, we got Andrew Drake, we got Felix, we got Joe the Snoop, we got a bunch of great people here. Ethan Mods, Ethan, welcome back to another Monday stream. We got a ton of stuff to get into, like we said, and we'll get into this Team Canada stuff, gold medal game a little bit later. But look, this is Habs Digest. We got to talk about some Habs stuff. And Jesse, let's start over in Europe, where I want to start with our boy. You know what? We're actually going to start with Vinzenz Rohrer, because I want to talk about Rohrer, then Kapanen, and then we'll roll the highlights. But he's been doing good. This tweet here from Habs Nation, Coach Frenchie, he tweets out a lot of great stuff about the prospects. So go give him a follow. You guys probably all know who he is. But Vinzenz Rohrer came out clutch. He netted his 14th of the season, then buried one in the shootout, leading the Lions to a 4-3 victory. Back-to-back games with a goal for him, 23 points in 47 games. Jesse, he's doubled his goal total just season over season from his age 19 to age 20 season. 14 goals in 47 games. Look, again, he's not super high on the Habs prospect depth chart or anything, but for a third-round pick, this guy is actually kind of rolling right now in the Swiss League, and I'd like to see him over in Laval at some point. I can't blame him for staying over there right now. Does he project as a Habs member long-term? One of those guys that you're just really not sure, but what I will say is the development's on the right path. Doubling your goal total year over year is no easy feat, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him, especially on this kind of little one-timer goal. It's really clean.
That was really nice for sure. And you have to feel like once he does come to the AHL, he'll get his opportunity there. That's what will determine it. But he's going to have some experience playing on that North American ice. He played for the Ottawa 67s. Again, potting 44 goals, showing he had some finish. But, going to the Swiss League where it's a little bit more tighter checking. But again, he's showing that offensive side. But the big thing for him is some people do believe that he can make the bottom six for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, that's still going to be a long shot. It's going to be really hard to do, but he's definitely going to have those opportunities. And there's a lot of things that I like, that I think that we like in his game, Josh. We like really feisty, kind of aggressive forecheckers who have really great hockey IQ and who are great skaters. And really, Vinzenz Rohrer has all three of these things. I think it's probably one of the biggest things right now holding him back is probably that frame at 161. Maybe he needs to put on a little bit more muscle there, but I mean, showing that compete, I think it's some really strong indicators here.
Yeah, I mean, again, you really never know. He's looking pretty good. He had a really hot start to the season, like a few other Habs prospects did, but it's always just fun to follow these guys. Even a guy like Engstrom, we remember, right? Hey, he had a pretty good year in the SHL, and then he came over, and we're like, wow, wait, he's actually really good in training camp. Wow, he's really good for Laval. At points of the season, he had more points than Logan Mailloux, so it's you really never know. Maybe he'll come over to training camp next year and we'll get a better look at him. Again, he'll need to bulk up. He'll need to kind of keep going down this path of development. But hey, 20 years old, it's never too late for him to start blooming, right? He's still got a couple more years. So really cool. Really interesting. But I want to move on also to our boy Oliver Kapanen right now, Jesse. This guy, look, he's a big part of today's discussion for a reason. Because Oliver Kapanen, we saw him for 12 games with Montreal this year, of course, and we sent him back to Sweden. Figured, playing with Oli Oken's team and Timra, being able to play on that top line, yeah, I think this was the right decision at this point. 25 points, 12 goals in 27 games. And look at the people above him in terms of points this season. He has 12 goals in 27 games. There's not a lot of other people here on that same goal per game pace. In fact, above him on the list of point per game leaderboard here, again, he's 10th in points per game in the whole league. He is third among all these people in the top 10 in points per game, in goals per game, with only Hollander and David Tomasek being higher than him. Jesse, he has been dominant recently. Another 2-goal game for Timmer, his 11th and 12th of the season. These Rohrer highlights will actually roll again before we see Kapanen, but man, I was a little sad to see him leave when he left, when we sent him back to Sweden, but holy smokes, has he ever impressed me this year. It's better than I could have even imagined.
And the thing about him is why maybe it shouldn't surprise us too much, is that like he's actually been playing pro for 3 years now as kind of this younger guy. So maybe that's why he kind of had that upper hand at Beck at training camp, where they're kind of similar players in a lot of ways, right? Where they have that two-way game, but really Kapanen's experience of playing at the pro level really shone of why he kind of had that inside track. I think that that's going to continue to be a debate kind of going into next season, because like Beck and Kapanen do have a chance to make the Montreal Canadiens full-time next year. Like, Josh, in your opinion, I know you're big on Kapanen. I don't want to kind of paint you in a corner here, but like, do you think that he's making the Montreal Canadiens next year?
Yeah, I do. I do think that. I think he's shown enough. Like, he made the team this year. Like, you know, that's kind of how I look at this. And I guess in essence it was a bit of a test run, but he straight up made the team over Owen Beck this year. And while Owen Beck has looked good in the AHL and even in his time in the NHL this year, I have no reason to believe Oliver Kapanen is going to come back any worse than he was this year. Like, again, the play on the ice, he was clearly still getting used to it, right? He's still getting used to the North American ice, getting used to that NHL speed, which is never easy, especially for a guy who's 21 years old. So for me, I think he genuinely is that next guy in line, like, especially if, you know, well, Dvorak will be gone, especially if we lose Jake Evans in a trade or to free agency or what have you. There's a couple center spots available. I think this guy's ready to slot right in. And again, he's showing passing prowess. He's showing goal-scoring prowess, Jesse. I mean, I honestly think all the signs are there. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't be on this team starting the 2025-26 season.
Yeah, he just needs to grow at this point. One of the final gifts, actual gifts from the Bergevin era there. And you have to feel like kind of seeing that speed in the highlight reel is going to be big for him to be able to have success at the NHL level. Again, it is interesting to like draw the comparisons between him and Beck, because they both kind of position themselves to be that 4C, 3C, play a really strong two-way game. They're not the most offensive guys in the world, but they've kind of shown that they definitely have that as a part of their game. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm not saying that they're exact replicas in terms of how they play the game, just interesting for the Habs. And I think it's a good position to kind of be in, to have players kind of this ilk in the stable right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just put a poll in chat, and I want every single one of you to go vote in that poll. Hey, completely free to vote. You just click once and your vote is cast. I want to know if you think Kapanen will make that opening night rosters. I'm going to take a quick look through chat. Like the stream, guys. Help our boys. Thank you, Felix. Can the Habs find a way to recover and stop sliding at the very least? We'll have to see, Jesse. I mean, look, we don't play again, I think, until Saturday. The Four Nations final is Thursday night, so we have a lot of time to recover, rest, and I think it's Ottawa when we come back, but I'm not totally sure. There's a lot of chance to rebound right now and head into the next part of the season looking very good. I see a few people talking about that. Again, guys, channel members will get priority to respond messages. I try to respond to as many as I can, but as you guys can see, there's a lot of you in there so right now, but there's a lot of trade talk. There's a lot of stuff going. Jesse, you know, it's been actually very quiet on the trade front throughout the Four Nations, and before we get into our boy Jacob Fowler, you got any thoughts whether you think the Habs will make a move before the end of the Four Nations at this point? We only got like 4 or 5 days left. I'm starting to think that, excuse me, Kent might be waiting until after.
Yeah, and I think he wants to see how the team kind of plays a little bit, because that's really what it's going to come down to, because there's still a fair amount of hockey. We're getting down to that final stretch, but I think how the Canadiens really shape here is you got to treat this like as a break, and if the team is getting hot, kind of coming out of it, it just adjusts your strategy on the fringes. Like the long-term vision is still the long-term vision, but I still think that Kent Hughes wants to wait. And I think that it really helps for getting that maximum value. We saw so many trades kind of leading up to it, where I think that we're going to have a little bit of that lull before really ramping things up before the actual deadline itself.
Yeah, and now that, you know, like Finland is kind of finishing their stuff up, and you never know, like now maybe Kent's like, all right, Armia, did he raise or lower his value? I think he stayed about the same, you know, took a couple bad penalties, one game, didn't play the second game, had a decent game today. So it's like probably the same, but I think a lot of teams are probably waiting on that as well. and any moves that are like, if there's a move that involves a Four Nations player, you have to imagine that a lot of teams are like, let's just wait and make sure they don't get hurt before we pull the trigger on this deal. Wouldn't surprise me if there's some handshake deals done behind the scenes and they're just waiting for something to end at the Four Nations, but that's all speculation. It's going to be fun to follow though, by the way, so it'll be interesting. And we got channel member Joseph in there. What's up, boys in chat? I have the same hat as Jesse. It's a fantastic hat. We say that often, don't we? It's a great looking Habs hat. The only Habs that I have is that Cole Caufield hat that I wear sometimes that you probably don't even notice is a Cole Caufield hat, but regardless, we're going to end that poll right now. 78% of people seem to think Oliver Kapanen is a shoo-in for the Habs opening night roster next season. And I think, hey, they're on board with us, Jesse. I'm really excited to see what he can do coming into next year. So yeah, pumped about that. But guys, hey, we're at 31 likes. I'd love to see if we can get that to 50. We got almost 200 people in here. I know it's a big Four Nations day. It's a holiday. Happy Family Day in Canada, if you observe that there. In Quebec, we don't, unfortunately. And in Newfoundland, where I'm from, we don't either. So for me, it's a normal day. But for all of you celebrating Family Day with your family, make sure you guys are taking care. Thank you for being here, making time in your day to help support us. But Jesse, let's talk about Jacob Fowler. And we got to show this quote from Fowler recently. It was from a Journal de Montréal article. I've translated it because they wrote it in French. The article's linked down below. Go check it out. Let's take a look here. So, Jacob Fowler, I mean, Jesse, we knew he's a guy who's always locked in. Always locked in. And his recent quote just solidifies that. I think I'm ready for the professional level. In fact, I train every day to get closer to the next level. I want to do it sooner rather than later, but right now, I'd rather not think about it. Right now, I just want to play the best hockey I can at this level. Since that defeat, talking about the Bean Pod, I believe, it's become even clearer in my head that I want to win the national championship. I can't think of anything further than that. Like, here's the thing. He's like, look, I want to be a pro. I think we all want to be pros, right? We all want to play for the Montreal Canadiens if we're in their system. But the fact that he's just like, I got to win. I got to win this national championship. We know that this dude is one of the most locked-in goalies in the world, just based on what we saw from his pre-draft interview. Every time we see him with the BC Eagles, everything we're seeing from Jacob Fowler, including his stats, they prove it, Jesse. But this quote here, like, this just embodies what we know and love about Jacob Fowler and just makes us basically not even be able to wait for him to join the Habs or Laval very, very soon.
Yeah, and we really don't expect anything less. And it's really this type of, Mamba mentality that's really allowed him to be one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant player in the NCAA. A bold claim, we know, considering the players there. But, like, Jacob Fowler is there. He's right at the very top, a very strong chance to win the Hobey Baker. Like, I would love to just see him win the Hobes this year. I think it'd just be absolutely phenomenal. And that's really what his sights are set on right now. It's really that national championship to really right the wrongs of last year. But I love how, he's saying at the same time, like, I'm locked in, as you know about me, but I know what that next step is. And that involves the Montreal Canadiens. By the way, he has family in Quebec here too, so going to be a little bit of a homecoming. Always been a Habs fan, by the way. So he's really looking forward to getting here. And I love hearing him say that, like, he's ready sooner than later. Like, I brought it up on the pod recently, Josh. Like, I thought 2 years of NCAA served Cole Caufield very well. He was ready to kind of take the jump. I could see a very similar trajectory. And I can't believe it. Like, we're almost here at the end of his season where we could see him in Laval potentially. We could see him, like, we know at least, at the very least, I think by training camp of next year that he's going to at least be with the Laval Rocket. They're like, that's phenomenal that he's going to be making that leap. I don't think that he needs to overdo it. He's doing everything at that level. I think that he is definitely ready. And we know the knocks. It's never like the technique or the compete, of course. It's off, like, just more in relation to the fitness. And he knows this full well, and he's addressing that. He's been putting in, like, the off ice work, and he's doing a lot of visualization training right now, which is actually really interesting to note. Just to really stay sharp, as we know goalies need to do on kind of that mental side of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing everything right. Again, like you said, he knows what he needs to do to make that next jump, and he's taking it very seriously, and his stats back that up. Not Michael Hage, though it is fun to talk about Michael Hage. That's an older screenshot. However, but Jacob Fowler, again, that 1.71 GAA, he doesn't have a chance. I mean, I suppose he has a chance to beat his record from last year. I don't think it's really going to happen this year, but his numbers across the board are better. The team in front of him is looking quite good again this year, but you're right. This dude's absolutely locked in. And we got someone in chat. We got Sheldon Plowman say, Hudson for Calder this year, Demidov for Calder next year, Fowler for Calder the year after that. Wouldn't that be something special?
owning it.
Isn't it crazy that that's like a legit possibility? Hudson, now I think Celebrini has gone back into like the favorite mode right now, just because Hudson had a little bit of a cold before this Four Nations break, and Celebrini, he is consistently good. So look, I'm okay even if Celebrini wins it, but Hudson has a legit chance. We don't know how these last games of the season are going to go. There is more than enough time for Hudson to go out and put on an absolute heater. So this is far from over this year. But Jesse, you think that's even possible? Like, it's kind of crazy that we're even entertaining that, but like, it genuinely would not shock me if that was the case. Well, I mean, I suppose it would shock me because, Fowler would be going up against a lot of really good players, but who knows? Like, the fact we're even discussing this just goes to show how deep this Habs prospect pool has gotten.
Yeah, definitely. And Dustin Wolf has kind of gotten himself in that conversation. Some great play. It can absolutely happen. Again, this is showing how we're taking that turn in the rebuild. Like, not only is Laval doing so well, and you notice when you are doing a proper rebuild, it takes a little bit of time. And then you start noticing, okay, the drafting starts coming through. And notice how all three of those players are complementary. Mm-hmm. You got your star defenseman, you got your star forward, you got your star goalie. Like, this is what people build their team off of. Those are the main parts. And then you fill around from there. But if we're looking to compete for a Stanley Cup, you always really have to hit those bases. And that's what the Montreal Canadiens have. And that's why it really gets so exciting is we see that absolutely, like Hudson, the way that he's so competitive, don't rule him out for winning it. Because I think he wants to, just more for the sake, not for the accolades, but just of really competing and just bringing out the best, being the best version of himself. Believe me, he's going to be gunning for this. He's going to be playing his best hockey coming out of the stretch, which I think is just going to be so exciting to see, not only for this team, which we know he always puts first, but because he really wants to show out, not just for him, but to kind of make the way for his younger brothers kind of coming up as well. And then again, so we got Hudson, and then we're talking about Demidov. That's a strong case, like we're not just being homers here for next season. Definitely, we're getting some Calder vibes already. Oh, yeah. The hype is real on the man. And then from there, Fowler, we know his compete again, once again. That's something that kind of unites all these players with the skill is really that unique, unique sort of compete, so that to have that the nucleus of this team to kind of complement the character we have already, like in Suzuki, in Caufield, in Slav, who do exemplify this, like it's just genuinely getting me so excited about the future of this team.
Dude, I can feel it, like the passion for the team, from us, from the fans, from everyone, like this optimism. It's something we haven't felt in so long, because every single player exhibits a lot of the traits that you want to see from top prospects, not only skill-wise, but maturity-wise, mindset-wise, work ethic-wise. All these things are culminating. It is fantastic drafting by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton so far. Again, we'll have to wait to see how they turn out, but all the signs are there. As we do have a super chat from Ethan Mods for $5. Ethan, thank you once again for being such a huge supporter of the channel week after week, day after day. Thank you so much for being here. He said, I really hope Jacob Fowler puts up these numbers in Laval next year. He has the potential to. Look, I mean, those numbers, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. A .936 save percentage with a 1.71 is tough to do, though. Cayden Primeau's putting up similar numbers to that this year. Jesse, I put up a poll in the chat the fans are currently voting on. Just to answer this super chat and make one more point on Fowler, do you see him straight up being the number one next year? I know Cayden Primeau's an RFA. Don't know what the plan is with him, but I absolutely see a world where they just open that door wide open for this guy to take the reins.
You really have to. And, Primeau, I think he's going to find a home somewhere else. They'll be interested in Montreal how that goes. Fowler, it's really going to be his time in Laval. I think they're going to want him to get that workload really underneath him. I think you're doing him a disservice otherwise, and then, obviously he's going to get to kind of show when he's ready to take that next step. But you can see a solid year in Laval. And I mean, all bets are off for the Montreal Canadiens crease as soon as that.
Yep, it's going to be really, really interesting to follow. So thank you again for the $5, Ethan. Unbelievable. Yeah, looks like the fans are in agreement, Jesse. 84% as of the end of the poll said that Fowler will be the number one in Laval at the start of next season. Fans seem to be high on him. We're high on him. And look, to hear those quotes from him, to see what other people are saying about him for good reason. I'm going to do a quick scan through chat, see some other channel members in here. Jason Patrick, good to see you, Jason. I think this break will serve Hudson good. Looking forward to seeing him finish strong. Absolutely. Joseph Donovan said he thinks Jacob Fowler will be putting up those numbers next year. Joseph sending those emojis as well. Slavzilla, Lane Train, Line, Demidov, all the channel members can send that too. And a chat here as well from WL. Primeau will not be able to come back. Highly unlikely he will get through waivers if ever recalled. Yeah, I don't know if they'll recall him this year, but after the season, it depends if they'll sign him to a contract. I think Primeau's going to be hunting for a place that'll give him a one-way deal, which is like, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I'm afraid I think he's just going to be gone. You might have to lose him for nothing, which sucks. But hey, he was waived. He was waived this year, and he passed through, so you had that possibility already. But we'll have to wait and see. But Jesse, we got to get into this Canada-Finland game today because this was nuts. What a game from Team Canada. First of all, leave some Canadian love in the chat right now for our boys. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, is going to be the championship game, Canada versus USA. I can guarantee you, pretty much everyone watching this stream, almost 300 of you in here are going to be watching that. We're going to be watching it. But let's talk about what happened today. We got the game score, the box score going down the bottom and the base bar as well, along with the channel member names, as always. But just looking at this game today, look, there's a lot to talk about. I do want to talk about the Finnish side in a bit, Jesse, but for Team Canada today, I mean, what else to say except for Sidney Crosby? This guy, unbelievable. McKinnon with 2 goals, of course, Reinhart with 3 assists, but it's Sidney Crosby, even John Cooper saying, in our country, he walks on water, as humble as they come. We'll roll the highlight reel of the game if you guys didn't get a chance to see it. Look, this is turning the tides right now. Right now, Team Canada, like you were saying before the stream, Jesse, you go out there, you lose the game against USA, you come out and you beat Finland. Look, it got close at the end, I will say, but you beat them fairly handily for most of this game. And now you got a chance, even Crosby laying the body there before this empty net goal. How excited were you to see this win, and how excited are you for this Thursday final? This is going to get legitimately crazy, I think. We're going to see unprecedented levels of hype for this game.
I'm just genuinely so excited. This is what you kind of live for as a hockey fan. And it's going to be one of those things like you remember back in the Olympics, these gold medal games, kind of where you were. So we're really preparing for that. And there's just so much on the line, right? Where USA, they think it's their time. And we got other plans about that. And I think, I would love for Canada just to really reassert that dominance at this best on best tournament, which is so overdue. Just so happy to see it back in this format. Mm-hmm. We're hearing lots of news how that's going to be expanded on very shortly. So it's going to be so great again, to have our Slovakian fans, many other nations to be involved in this very shortly, which is tremendous. But I think the reason why we're looking forward so much to this big game, and the reason that Team Canada should not fear going into this gold medal game, this championship game, is because they got the best players in the world. And they showed up today. Like you mentioned, that was the difference. Crosby. But, McDavid again setting the tone, and McKinnon again. This is McDavid, him, basically saying, and McKinnon, we're the best players in the world. They're showing it by their actions. And we see all the time, when it comes to trade, it's whatever team got the best player in that trade, we generally think, okay, that person won that trade. Yeah. Because of that X factor, because of that presence that player brings to the table. That's why I feel that Team Canada should not fear going into this championship game, because we got the 3 best players in the world. We got we got Crosby, we got McKinnon, we got McDavid, and I really expect them to be the difference makers as they were. What's that, brother?
And we got Montembeault. Come on.
And we got Montembeault as well. He's ready. You got a moment's notice. He's there. He's locked in. We know he's got that fire when he really needs. Who knows, right? He's there when it matters the most. Just imagine. Just stay tuned, folks. That's gonna be absolutely incredible. But the best player is just really putting the stamp on this game, which I really, really love to see. That's obviously what's gonna need to take us over the top in this next game coming up. But that's why I feel like this team here has a lot that they should be really confident about.
Absolutely. Just watching them play instills confidence a lot of the time. That game against USA was tough. The goal scoring was tough. I'm not going to make any more comments about Mitch Marner, but look, I've been more confident than ever that I don't want to sign him in the offseason. Dude is incredibly skilled, but he doesn't shine on these kind of scales like this. I'm so sorry to say it, but even my Leaf fan friends are saying it, so it's not like I'm slandering the Leafs for nothing. But Jesse, before we move on, we got to talk about another super chat here in chat, again from Ethan. Ethan, thank you so much. We're going to return to Ethan's message before we get back. Guys, again, channel members and super chats will get priority. So, Ethan, just simply saying, we got to talk about this first. Again, we can maybe try and blend this in. Demidov, Hudson, Reinbacher, and Fowler are 4 guys. You can't screw up the development as they are the future in my eyes. I completely agree. I think they're so good that, straight up, yeah, you're kind of saying, Ethan, you can't screw it up. They're so good that it's going to be almost impossible to screw up. And they are the future right now. And you see how good they are right now. You were even just saying, Jesse, having those top guys it instills confidence when you see them play. And when you see these guys, the Habs, by the way, go leave some likes on Ethan's donation of $20. My goodness, 2 likes is pitiful. We got 250 people in here. Come on, let's see that get up to at least 10. Thank you again, Ethan. But like, it's very right, Jesse. Having that big talent, that backlog of talent means so much to producing in the future. And so many of these Habs players so far, again, early in their development, but all the signs are that the Habs will have this kind of core that will instill confidence night in, night out, just like Team Canada is doing right now.
And it's so needed for this team because we got lots of prospects we've been breaking down, the Becks, the Kapanens, more maybe to the fringe of Rohrer. Like, these are good players for kind of the middle of the lineup, but they're not the guys, they're not those home run hitters that you really need. And that's what the Montreal Canadiens have been plagued with for a long time. Like, I'm not going to call them bottom heavy, but I call them mid heavy for quite a bit. Like, we're going back like 10 years now, really. And we're lacking, obviously, that superstar where we look at a team like the Jets, where it's like, their bottom 4 isn't much at all, but they're top heavy in terms of their top 6 being pretty good, right? So what it really allows you to have when you're getting these top players is you're not just top heavy. It's like you're going to have the elite finish where it really matters, but like the core of your team is also going to be incredibly solid. You're going to be able to run 4 lines of some really decent players, which really just increases your chance of winning so much when just man on man, you're having some depth on your team of kind of being better than your opposite number there. And that's what I see with this Montreal Canadiens team is that depth is great. Lots of that. You need that. But then you need the Demidovs, the Hudson, the Reinbachers, the Fowlers to really take you over the top once that threshold has really been established there. So key. That's what the Montreal Canadiens haven't had for a very long time. That's what they have now. And that's why we're so excited.
I'm so excited too. It's unbelievable stuff happening right now. My hotkeys are not working, but we do have another super chat coming in here. Or not another super chat, I should say. Why is this not playing at all? Hey, you know what? Well, sorry about that, but Sheldon Plowman, welcome. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Sheldon, go ahead and send those new emojis that you got access to right here in the chat. Thank you so much for becoming a Hat Trick tier member. Really, really appreciate it. Appreciate all the support here. Jesse, we got a lot of people talking about Team Canada. Currently, as the poll is going, guys, if you haven't voted, go vote in it. 73% are saying we got Canada versus USA. We got Canada winning on Thursday. We might have a bit of a biased crowd, but hey, that's okay. We got some people talking about Hellebuck, how he's incredibly good. Definitely agree there. Some people saying that they're scared that Jordan Binnington's in net. While he has made some big saves, he has looked a little iffy at times, right? Some soft goals let in, which again, if he does that again against USA, if Canada can't get that scoring going, that could be a problem. Joseph Donovan saying, my dad hates Mitch. LOL. Hey, look, I'm not going to spend this time hating on Mitch Marner, but again, coming in against USA, Jesse, maybe one final comment on this. Like, I don't know. What do you think would break Canada right now going into this game against USA? To me, it's that offense, it's that goal scoring, but knowing that we'll likely have Makar for this game, I feel a little more confident. And plus, coming off this win against Finland, this fire is fueled inside of them. I feel like that plus the extra level that hopefully Makar will give them should be enough to overcome that kind of offensive drought that they had last game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Josh, bring back the question one more time. What's your question here?
My question here is, what do you think is the one thing that can like make or break Canada come Thursday against the USA? Because to me, it is that extra level of offense that they couldn't find the last time.
For me, it's going to be goaltending because we're going to get the goals. The goal, like on a law of averages against the USA, that was tough. We know the defense, but like for me going into that third period when it was 2-1, I was just thinking, let's just play good defense on our end to really not allow anything. Because for me, the goal scoring was going to come. It was just about not allowing any bad goals. That being said, it's like, I have a lot of faith in the big guns to really do that. Obviously we need to go with Binnington at this point. Yeah. If he wins the gold medal, and I have faith that we can, absolutely. Honestly speaking, if I'm Team Canada's coach going into that game, that second game, I'm starting Aiden Hill there because it's just, we're seeing a couple of those soft goals and then we saw it happen again. And it's okay to get past Finland, but there's a difference between Finland and USA. And I think it's important to recognize that threshold in a game like this, where I felt like it was the difference. Like Binnington did make some good save, and there is some good points from Cooper where he made it your point, Josh, where he's saying like we weren't scoring enough for him. And that is a fair point. He's saying, basically you're giving them, you're allowing only 2 goals, you're giving your chance to win. But I just think at this level, the goaltending does need to be higher. You need to demand for it to be higher. I think in these type of situations, because when you're watching these games, they're playing some of the best hockey of their lives. Oh, yeah. Like everybody's bringing it up another level. Like the pride is there. you can tell, like, they're doing everything. Like, the pressure they're putting on themselves is incredible. So when I see that from all the other players, I want to see that for my goalie as well, of really stepping it up. That being said, I got faith in Binnington to battle forward. Like, he's won a Stanley Cup. He's won it when it really matters the most. They really like his ability to be able to play the puck, which can be huge, especially against a really strong forechecking team like the USA. So, I got faith here. That's what I would have done in retrospect. But, of course, all that matters is really getting that gold medal game. And, I mean, it's really anybody's opportunity at this point. You have to feel like Binnington. He's a competitor. He gets a lot of heat for a lot of things. But when it matters most, you have to feel like his heart, it's going to be in the right place.
I mean, he's an intense dude. You got to give him that, right? Like, he's both chill and intense at the same time. And I do got to put my faith behind him now. But I completely agree that goaltending is an issue. And, it's tough. We got some people in chat. A lot of people agreeing that goaltending is kind of one of those things. Let us know in the chat, by the way, if you haven't sent already, what is the one thing you think Canada needs to improve on in this game against the USA? Goaltending, you're bang on, Jesse. That is going to be something. Again, Binnington with a sub 900 save percentage. It's sub 900 on the tournament, but to be fair, there's a lot of good players he's going against. Again, the scoring chances, you're right. Team Canada can generate them. And though I do question, I don't want to question the line combination sometime, but like, I don't know. I do feel sometimes that guys like Hagel and Cirelli are getting a bit of preferential treatment. You look at them, Cirelli, 1341. He was a -1 against Finland. Hagel was also a -1, though Hagel does play the PK, so like, I'll give him that. Like, Hagel is useful in a lot more situations. He's a little physical. He fought against USA. I do think Cooper's kind of playing his own boys a little bit. I suppose he knows them. It is what it is. But like someone in chat said, like, yeah, you got to feel like you wish Nick Suzuki was there. I think Nick Suzuki would have been a great fit on this team, and even some people saying Tom Wilson. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff Team Canada can shore up. I'm excited to see what comes on Thursday. It's going to be crazy. We got a lot of people. Joseph just says win. That's what they need to do. Absolutely agree. Ethan saying, we knew this from Canada team before the tournament even happened, that goaltending was going to be an issue. I just want to also remind everyone that Samuel Montembeault had an insane World Hockey Championship where he backstopped Canada to, like, I think, what was he, 6-0 with like a sub 1 GAA and like a 950 save percentage. Just saying, that dude's been clutch before. Not saying it can't happen again. But there's one final thing I want to talk about, and we got to talk about our boy Laine. Oh, hi, Frank. Welcome in. Made it. Hey, everyone. Hey, Frank. Good to see you, as always. Final thing. I want to... Oh, no. Why is this not working? Oh, no. Everything's falling apart now. Do I have the picture? Oh, no. Everything's falling apart. There he is. There's Patrik Laine. So I wanted to talk a bit about Patrik Laine right here, Jesse, before we finish things off, because... finish. He had 3 points in 3 games in this tournament. And a lot of people were saying, look, this is going to be a big thing for Patrik Laine. It's going to be a big rebound for him. A good time for him to play a bit more ice time, to maybe get some points, to play with some higher profile players. And he was playing like kind of in the middle six for a lot of this tournament, but he was getting that power play time. He was ripping one-timers. He could have scored a couple of goals. He was this close to scoring a few goals, but he still came out as a point per game in the tournament. 3 assists. He had a really nice assist to Mikko Rantanen in a couple games ago. And he had a great assist today to Mikael Granlund late in the game to bring this within a 1 or a 2 goal game late down there in the third with the empty net. I was thoroughly impressed with Patrik Laine in this tournament, Jesse. I'm really glad that he got some good ice time like he was saying he wanted to get, and to see him play well, and not only to play well, but to hear incredible quotes from, like, Alexander Barkov saying this is the best version of Laine you can get, to hear the coaches compliment him, to see him go out play, seem happy. And not to mention his best performances were at the Bell Center. So I'm really excited to see what this is going to do for him coming out of this tournament.
And that's really the biggest thing. It's just having fun, enjoying the game, and you have to feel like representing your country. It can kind of remind you of why we got into this in the first place. This is why this is so overdue. I think the players, they need that. And once they get to that level, they deserve to represent their country, because it's just such great fuel when you remember, okay, this is bigger than for me. It's I'm doing this for the nation that I'm really representing. So again, he played really well, and maybe he didn't get the W today, but he was trying stuff against Canada. You can't fault him for that. I love to see Laine looking creative out there on the ice, again, getting on the scoreboard, showing that he's not just a finisher, but he can get those assists as well, which I think, as I alluded to in our previous vid yesterday, I think it'd be a good look for him kind of going forward. There's maybe some implications of, some reads that he could make there on the power play going forward. So, yeah, again, having a lot of fun, and, maybe chirping a little bit too. That's a good part of him. Honestly, like, I'm just happy to see Laine having success. I find his personality refreshing, of just how he's really authentic and just the real straight takes. Like, he just comes across as like super real and authentic. And I honestly do appreciate that. I think for better or worse, that's the way to be. You can always kind of tell where you stand with somebody when they're just generally very authentic and, a pretty cool person. So really glad to see him have the success. But again, as we've been talking about on the pod, like, this could serve him very well for finishing off the season with the Montreal Canadiens in a fine form of, again, having that fun. Sometimes needs to be surrounded by some good other players, get his mojo kind of going. So I'm interested to see how this will kind of carry through. Noting how he's kind of a streaky player, I think that he's due for a little bit of a run right now, brother.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great way to get him going. As someone said in chat to Richard Martin, as Laine goes, the Habs go. I mean, that's just very true.
Yeah,
we see when Laine pots a goal, the Habs win games. It's straight up the truth. And I think there's a bigger motif to that. It's more like the Habs get depth scoring, the Habs play better, because that's been their kryptonite for a few years now. Well, also a bad roster for a few years, but this year is the best roster they've had in a while. And a guy like Patrik Laine, who again is always throughout his career close to that point per game mark, was his last couple full seasons in Columbus. 18 points in 28 games this year, but 3 points in 3 games at the Four Nations, getting that power play time, having some really nice assists. You just got to imagine, especially on that assist that he had to Rantanen, if Slav is over in that spot. Rantanen fanned on that shot and still went in, but imagine it's Slav, or imagine it's Demidov next year or something that Laine is threading these passes to. He showed his playmaking chops right now, and there's a lot more to Laine's game than I think we've seen. Again, if I bring that back up and we look at his numbers, like, again, the assist numbers have never been bad. It's not like this guy has been a pure goal scorer. 30 assists in 55 games, 30 assists in 56 games, 35 assists in 68 games. Before that, 20 assists in 82 games, but he's always been a decent playmaker, and we've seen some great passes from him this year. Whether or not that comes to fruition now with Montreal the rest of the way, I don't know, but I'm just excited to see it, Jesse. Look, I think he's ready for a hot streak. We got, 30 games left down the stretch. I think it's like 27 or something like that. So Laine will finish at about 55 games if all things go to plan, and he's currently at 18 points. Wouldn't shock me to see him end up getting 20-ish points in his last 27 games, with 12 or 13 of those being goals. If Laine can hit 20 or 25 goals this year, I'd be thrilled, and I genuinely don't think that's out of the question, especially seeing how the Habs tend to deploy him and to see how his teammates on Finland tended to trust him in those power play situations.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to be the big thing. It's finishing the season off strong to start off with next year, because if you're Kent Hughes, you want to see how Patrik Laine and Demidov play together. And the question is, and we'll probably break this down further bit, is who else is going to be a part of that second line next year? Because I'm set on Laine and Demidov being a part of that. Demidov might kind of graduate up sooner or later, but I don't think that it might be Dach right now. It's who else is going to be that other piece on that second line? I think it's going to be very interesting going forward. Mystery player X coming up on that second line with Laine, with Demidov, I think could be super interesting to see.
Yep, it's going to be super interesting to see. And we do have another super chat. Ethan, the animation's broken. I'm sorry. So just imagine Super Cole going through the screen, and I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you. Yeah. Ethan, Joel Armia has had a really good tournament. He isn't putting up a lot of points, but when he's on the ice, he's winning battles and creating chances. I will say, I think Armia was fine. I think his first game of the tournament was a bit rough, right? They got smoked 6-1, and I thought Armia took a couple bad penalties, and that led to him getting scratched in the second game. But when Armia is on, when he's in the right situations, those are a couple dumb mistakes by Armia. And the thing is, this tournament is so short that those small sample sizes, they play on your senses. So people saying Armia is really, really bad. Yeah, he had a bad game in game 1, but he came back today and I thought he looked fairly strong. He created a couple chances, the puck on his stick a lot. That's the thing with Joel Armia, Jesse, that when he is on the ice, he does tend to create chances. He's a good forechecker. He didn't quite show it as much as I think he could right now in this tournament, but I'm excited to see what he can do for Montreal, or maybe even what he could entice other teams to pay for him, right? I think that's the big thing with Armia, and I think at the very least, he showed teams what he's capable of in this tournament on a national stage. He some mistakes here and there, but I think teams know that he's just one of those mature guys who's going to be reliable night in, night out.
Yeah, and Joel Armia, for me, is he's a really good player. He just has a problem with consistency of showing the really offensive side of his game. He shows everything else. He's super big. He can get in the offensive zone. You see all those talents are there. It just doesn't come out in the offensive zone, but on the boards, on the PK, defensively doing all the right things, he does that all the time. So for sure, he's obviously at, being a pro player does a lot. We're kind of picking at, where he can maybe do things better. We know that it's there, kind of like with Devo. It's we know the offense is there. Maybe we want to see a little bit more, but I mean, there's just so much that he does well.
Yeah, there's a lot. And hey, him and Evans, that dynamic duo on the PK, it's looking good. It's looking good for the rest of the season. Guys, I think that's going to pretty much do it. Thank you guys so much for the support. We're going to mention a couple other chats here before we go. And hey, if you guys wouldn't mind helping us us out. You know how much we like to see the like numbers go up. You guys know how much you like to see it. You click the thumbs up, does a little animation. We're 14 away from 100. You know how much we love to hit 100 likes on every stream if we can. So look, I know it's a Monday, it's a holiday. We got 270 people in here. If you guys wouldn't mind helping us out, it's a simple thing, and you'd be surprised at how much it helps us. A couple other things. Frank suggesting a future line of Laine and Demidov on the wings, but Beck at center. Look, I'm high on Beck. I don't know if he's ready for that kind of role yet, but Laine and Demidov on each other's wings, Jesse, no matter who's going down the middle, I think that could be something really interesting.
100%. And some people are saying maybe Beck can get to that 2C. One day we'll see. Of course, what's nice is you have a defensive guy in that role with maybe two offensive dynamos, which can be a nice combination. Beck might have a little bit of work, but hey, we're not ruling out, because there are other people too that do believe that maybe one day he can get to that 2C role.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of numbers coming in the chat. I don't really know what's going on there. But hey, it is what it is. What is going on? Anyway, 73% of people end up saying they got Canada versus USA in the final for the win. 153 votes. Oh, we're counting down. Oh, hey, we hit 101 likes. That's what you're counting down, I think. Oh, thank you so much, guys. We hit it. Hey, appreciate that a ton. I got you, Hockey Buck. Thank you so much. I was out of my mind there. Wasn't seeing what was going on, but thank you so much. Even Muffin Mouse, thank you, J&J, my 100 hockey family. Well, thank you for being part of this Habs Digest family. We appreciate every single person being in here. Good show, guys. See you all next time. Thank you to new member Sheldon Plowman. Sheldon, wonderful seeing you here today. Some great comments as well. Glad we got to read a few of those. Thank you all so much. Ethan as well. So many people. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That's the thing. I didn't even remind you guys to subscribe. There's a lot of you guys, statistically, about 55% of you who still aren't subscribed to the channel, even watching this stream, and we do these every week. So if you want to subscribe, it's completely free. Helps us out more than you could ever know. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. Let's go Team Canada on Thursday. We'll catch you all in the next one.